Big news and positive news coming out of West Ham this morning, and that is Mohammed Kudus' release clause is no longer active this summer. Now it does become active again for next summer transfer window. However, we knew that was going to be happening. We knew that was the case. There's no surprise there. The surprise was last week when Florian Plettenberg, the Bundesliga reporter for Sky Sports, did a tweet saying that Mohammed Kudus' 85 million release clause was active. Now, that was the surprise. And when I did a video covering it, I believed it and I gave my reasons why. I quickly discovered in the comments that some people believed it and some people didn't. And some people were angry that I believed it. Although I gave my reasons, I think now, today, I feel like it's been proven correct that what Plettenberg was reporting in regards to Kudus' release clause was true. And if you still don't believe him, that's fine, that's your opinion. But you now have to accept that you think everybody is not telling the truth, because now we've got everybody singing off the same hymn sheet. There's no choose your fighter today. Previously we've had sort of battle of the journalists and the Indianos. We've got contrasting stories and you have to choose what you believe. You have to choose who you believe. Today it doesn't have that element, and that's why I 100% believe this story, that Mohammed Kudus' release clause is no longer active. It was active, but it expired at midnight last night. So the 1st of July, as soon as it goes 12 o'clock at night, that's it. Nobody can get Mohammed Kudus for 85 million just like that. Last week, a club bids 85 million for Kudus. We have to accept it. There's nothing we can do about it. Well, that has changed from today onwards. According to Sean Whetstone and ExWHUemployee, two people really reliable when it comes to West Ham news, they're both stating the exact same thing, which is that that clause has expired. Now, yes, it comes active again next summer, but I'm even more confident that Mohammed Kudus will be here for the entire season next season. I've always been quite comfortable and confident that we will keep a hold of Giant-born Mohammed Kudus. Coming out of last season, I thought we'd sell Lucas Paqueta. Obviously, this was prior to the charge from the FA, but I thought Paqueta would go, but we would retain Kudus and Bowen, and I was happy with that. If that was the business we were going to do, I was happy with it. I felt it was more important to keep Bowen and Kudus. I still feel that way, by the way. I'm just even more confident now they're both going to be here next season. This is good news for West Ham, because up until now, our negotiating power has been somewhat null and void if somebody bid 85 million, but now it's all in the hands of West Ham. If someone rocks up today with a bid of 85 million, we can say, nah, do one, 125 million, whatever price we want to put on him, we can do, because he still will have a price. It's just no longer 85 million. This is really good. I don't see a negative attached to this news whatsoever. I'm really happy about it. But I'm happy about it for two reasons, and that is, well, one, that he's staying, but the other one is this wasn't leaked. It was. Plettenberg leaked it last week, but he's got no affiliation to West Ham. He's got absolutely no loyalty to West Ham. He's a reporter. He was given a story, a big story, that Kudus' release clause was active this summer. He wasn't told about the deadline, or if he was, he didn't put it out there. But he was informed that the 85 million release clause was active. He put it out there. I've not got a problem with a journalist doing journalism things. I have an issue with journalists making stuff up, i.e. Thomas Souček to Real Madrid. That's just made up. Kudus having a release clause, I feel like it's been proven to be correct. Big tick in the box of Florian Plettenberg, but like I said, I am biased because I believed him anyway. It's up to you. Those who didn't believe him, I wonder if you have changed your mind. I think actually he was correct now. There was a part missing, the expiry date, but what he said was accurate at the time. But it wasn't leaked by West Ham. Sean and X have both said today the reason they didn't sort of back up Plettenberg's claims was because the club wanted to keep the 1st of July deadline quiet. They didn't want anyone knowing about it, and I understand that. £85 million release clause, yeah, he's got one. So come in July, August, come back whenever you want and bid for it. Had any other club knowing about the magic date yesterday, would there be? I'm not so sure, because there's only so many clubs can afford to pay 85 million for Kudus. Bearing in mind, it's very early on in the transfer window, making plans for next season. I would have been surprised if anybody did, even if they knew of that magic date. But it certainly would have, perhaps, anyone that was intending on bidding for Kudus, well, they can't now. So it's maybe just changed something a little bit. But it wasn't leaked. I like it. But more importantly, it's obvious for West Ham to keep this quiet, right? West Ham not telling anyone about the date makes sense. Not a surprise. However, the other side of it, which is Mohammed Kudus' side of it. Now, obviously, somebody told Plattenberg, right? He's got that news from somewhere. I'm not sure where he got it from initially. I covered it last week as to where I think he got the reassurance, because when he did his tweet, West Ham fans said, "You're wrong, it's next summer," and he came back 6-7 hours later and said, "No, I've double checked this, I am right." I'm covered where I think he double checked it. Tim Steidten. Now, arguably, if he's gone to Steidten and Steidten says, "Yeah, it's true," and not told him about the expiry date, arguably good news. And this is why when I had an issue with Fabrizio Romano getting stuff from Tim Steidten last summer, and it was in relation to the Mohammed Kudus transfer, and he's had it again with the young player we've signed from Man City. He's had the photo in the room and he's put Fabrizio Romano's, he's put his watermark on it. So he's still getting information from someone at the club. I just believe it's Tim Steidten. When I did the video about it, and some people made a really good point, which is, well, actually, Tim Steidten could use this to his advantage, and they gave a couple of reasons as to why. The main one was being kept in the loop with any other going-ons with transfers, with targets we're looking at. I guess this could be one of those things that if we were interested in a player with a minimum fee release clause but had an expiry date and we weren't aware of it, and Romano finds out and informs Steidten, it works out. So I softened my stance a little bit because of those subscribers. And maybe this is where Steidten's pulled a bit of a blinder, actually. And this is a made-up scenario, right? If Plattenberg has gone to Steidten to say, "Hey, I've heard about this Kudus release clause, is it true?" And Steidten's gone, "Yeah, it's true," but missed out the bit about the 1st of July. I think that's quite clever, actually. I think that's using social media to your advantage. I'm still not sold on it. I'm still a little bit iffy with it, because it does feel a little bit like our business is being done in public domain. But there's certainly advantages as well as disadvantages. So it didn't get leaked. But Kudus' agent didn't put this out there. And if Kudus wanted to move away from West Ham, really wanted to move away from this summer, I'm quite confident that the date, the 1st of July, with the release clause would have been everywhere. And not up until it only got leaked last week. I think it would have been out there as soon as the season was finished. It would be a case of, "Oh, Kudus' 85 million release clause is now active until the 1st of July. I think it would have been very easy for Kudus or his agent or somebody close to Kudus to put this out in the public domain if he wished to leave. Now, we've heard the reports the last week or so that while he's been bombing around on his jet ski, that he's actually happy at West Ham. He's got no intention of leaving. And Plattenberg said that as well. When he put the tweet out, he said that Kudus has given no indication that he wants to leave this summer. And I think that the fact that this news was not put out there would suggest that that's true, that he is actually happy at West Ham and possibly looking forward to next season under Lopetegui, who I'm looking forward to Kudus under Lopetegui next season as well, because I think this is really, really good news. Like I said, there's no negatives here for me whatsoever. This is just 100% pure positivity as far as I'm concerned. The one thing that does intrigue me, though, is the expiry date. Not the one that's just happened yesterday, but the one for the future. Because when these clauses are put into contracts, there's always dates and other clauses attached to the clauses. Like Bruno Guimaraes, his one was at the end of June. It wasn't quite as late as Kudus's, but last week, it was midnight last week that Guimaraes of Newcastle had a 100 million release clause. It expired. And I think it was fair to assume that Kudus's one would have had some sort of restriction on it as well, so that you can't just come in on 2 hours before the deadline, on deadline day, 2 hours before the window closes and say, "Oh, 85 million, thank you, we're going to have Kudus." The club aren't that daft. They're going to protect themselves as much as they can. I'm surprised it's this early in the transfer window. Almost fair play to West Ham for getting the 1st of July as the cut-off point. I think that's a success as far as I'm concerned. In terms of a release clause, I think that's really restrictive for other clubs. And to some extent, the interesting thing is if a club, granted they can come on the 1st of July, but obviously as we publicly discovered the last week or so, there's almost like a mini deadline day now in football. Yes, PSR rules will be changing in future, but for now, until it's all signed off, the 30th of June is a cut-off point in relation to selling players. But when you're buying players, it still hits that year as well as the next year. And that will restrict a few clubs as well as to who can activate it before the 1st of July. Not so many. So we've got that clause in there, and I just wonder, is the 1st of July a thing for 2025 as well? Basically, in 12 months from now, on the 2nd of July, if Kudus is still a West Ham player, can we all relax that £85 million release clause is no longer active next summer? I would expect it to be. Maybe Kudus' side have negotiated it that the first summer is the 1st of July, the second summer is a little bit longer, and so on and so forth. But regardless, I'm looking at the next year, because we all get excited about signing players. I'm excited about signing players. There's a player we're strongly linked to at the minute that I've not discussed that I'd love to see at West Ham. I've spoken about him on a few occasions. I've got my doubts about it, but I might cover that tonight or tomorrow. I'm just trying to not get carried away a little bit. We all get excited for players that we bring in. It's the most natural thing in football, and it's a good thing. I'm not saying don't do that. The opposite, do it. Get your hopes up. Get excited to see the new players at your football club. It's a good thing. But sometimes it's just as important to keep a hold of the ones you want to retain. And there's not that many. There's not that many at the club that are just untouchable. Most of them, you're probably open to selling. I think Emerson is a really good example when he got linked to Milan. Do we want to sell Emerson? No, we're not actively looking to sell him. However, if a bid came in, would we consider it? I think we'd be fools not to. So he's not for sale, but he's also not for sale. Mohammed Kudus, Jarrod Bowen, and I'd maybe put Edson Alvarez in there, but I'm not sure if West Ham would. They're the two in particular, Bowen and Kudus. That's the two. It's just hands off, not for sale at any price. Can't really do that when there's a release clause. Well, there's no release clause anymore. So now West Ham can have this get your hands off Kudus. He's not going anywhere, at least for the next 12 months anyway, and I'm looking forward to it. We can now look forward to Kudus in a West Ham shirt next season. If you were worried, if you believed the release clause, not everybody did, but for those of us that did believe that it was active this summer, we can relax even more now. I am 99% confident that Mohammed Kudus will be a West Ham player for the entire next season. Slap a silly price tag on him. Anyone that wants him, I don't know, 125 million. Do you think anyone will pay that? No, but that's the point. We're trying to price people out of it. But if anybody does come by him, we can cash in, and it's a hell of a lot more than the 85 that we might get next summer should he go. But this is good news. What a wonderful start to Tuesday this is, knowing that Kudus is probably going to be here next season. Like I said, I thought he was going to be anyway, but I'll be honest, I was a little bit concerned that somebody might come in for him. But flip side, Steidten, 85 million, I'd expect him to work miracles with that. Not just Tim Steidten, any director of football worth their salt should be able to do really good business with 85 million. This is good news. This is wonderful. Anyway, I'm going to shut up and disappear. Get involved in the comments below. But if you've enjoyed this video, please do drop a like on it. Subscribe if you're new around here. And I'll catch you in a bit.